here we go.
Your feelings are your problem. I don't give a damn about them or you. I decline to take part in this struggle session, and I have nothing but contempt for anyone trying to drag me into it. During my time on the public stage, I have found myself thrown into the middle of some very dumb, very fake outrage cycles. But this week, I have experienced what surely is the dumbest and fakest one of all. Over the past several days, I have been attacked by both the left and even a fair number of people on the right for, as the story goes, posting a swastika on Twitter. Or as it has been put, including by this ostensibly right-wing account, I, quote, approvingly tweeted a swastika. Now, this is the narrative that various factions have decided to run with, the story that they're telling. Never mind the fact that the story is entirely made up. It didn't actually happen. What did happen is that a few days ago, I tweeted a point that you've heard me make many times, especially recently. I called out the PSYOP that has been conducted to convince white people that they aren't native to their own homeland, even if their ancestors have been here for dozens of generations.
Okay, so I want you all to track this. If you could make us a little larger when we're talking. I don't know if I have those controls, but
yeah, I could do that.
I appreciate you. So the first thing we have to really hone in on is the positioning. This is very common with these types. So the first thing he does is he suggests that he's not speaking from emotionalism or irrationality. He establishes the assertion that he's logical, he's coldly rational, which is generally a lie because, that's not how human beings are, unfortunately. Then the second thing, and when you're more intelligent, all you have are greater tools to conceal your motivating forces. So then the second thing he does is he says, you know what? They're trying to convince us that we're not native. Unless you're talking about Europe, you're not native. And there's no evidence that you're native except your opinion. So what he immediately does is what the left does, which is he may be on the brink of redefining a word because he mentions generations, when really when we're talking about being native, the word generation doesn't even factor in, because to be native means you go back and back and back and back and like into the soil damn near. But when you're talking about generations, then you can talk about being a native to Australia or a native to North America, the United States. So I think that might be where this is going. I'm watching this in real time, brand new. Any thoughts before we carry on?
I think your take was based on that, man. We can continue on.
And somebody responded to that point that I made on X, and they responded and said this, quote, "These people are native to Europe, not the Americas or Africa. Sounds
Correct.
like you need to Google what the word native means."
Oh, poor thing. So
looks
either,
like you was right there, Marquette.
yeah, and I could sniff that out, and that's a troubling thing. I remind people that the devil's chief tool is deception. It is deception and dishonesty. We all know that the European came to America and established dominion over this land through mass murder. And in fact, it was not only mass murder, it was mass murder without shame, without morality. And of course, transatlantic enslavement ran in parallel with that. So you have an entire group of people that during that time and today feel largely no remorse. And you might say, well, what about the white liberals? These people are psychopaths, and they're virtue signaling not to right the past, which you cannot really, but rather to give themselves something to gripe about. In the midst of a nice middle-class life, they need something to complain about, something to be relevant about. That's why they're fighting climate change, which is something that they mostly can't fight unless they would stop their whole way of life in the West. You'd have to stop the military-industrial complex. You'd have to stop much greater forces. But the idea that this boy is about to sit here and claim that whites of any variety are native to the Americas or Australia is an extraordinary deception. Even if he is going to bring up the Merriam-Webster definition, go to definition 1, 2, 3, or 80 to try to justify it. We know what the term is supposed to mean. There are words like literally, for example, and being that you had a lot of dimwits abusing the definition of the word, the dictionary actually updated it and changed it. Just like words like flammable and inflammable. People misuse the word so many times that the dictionary actually adjusts to our invalid thinking. So, for example, he's about to make an attempt to claim that they're native to a land that they murdered to become a part of. Extraordinary. Hit it. Oh, I actually got it.
Yep. Yeah, you got it. It's on your end.
Now,
man.
accompanying that caption is a picture of 6 blonde white girls, which you can see here. And I responded to that, disagreeing with it, and I said this: people who look like that have been living in Americas for 5 centuries. If 5 centuries is not long enough to qualify as native, then how long do you need? If the answer is
Yeah, so I mean, this part is funny is because I mean, what Marquette is really good at, you got to give it to him. He can kind of, foresee what someone's conclusion will be with, you all heard his first statement, and he's just kind of you sure you didn't watch this, Marquette?
Now, I just got somebody emailed this. I was on a live before this.
I'm messing with you. What I'm saying is that, yeah, I mean, you summed it up pretty good. And now he's trying to make sense of something that needs not to be made sense of. It's a word, it has a definition. So he's trying to change that word so he can fit it into something. So yeah, what's your take?
You know what? Shout out to my fans around the world who are Europeans, who are white, and reasonable. I could respect it if this fella came on and he said, you know what, man, we took over the land. We murdered and took it, and we're not giving it back. So it's ours now. I can respect that because that's a fact. They're not giving it back. They're not going to leave the land, and they got it through murder. And he says, hey, yeah, that's what we did. And what? Who's going to do something about it? Not the blacks, not the Native Americans. We mostly wiped them out. No one's going to do anything about it. I believe might makes right. And we're going to carry on as we have been. We are the dominant in the society, and we plan on continuing it in that way. I'd respect that. But instead, what he tried to do is assign morality, and he tried to suggest that they're entitled. It's similar to what you see the small hats do in Israel. And this is where I can't respect their position, but I want you to know that the devil's chief tool is deception, and they're going to continue lying, and they're going to stack lie upon lie to try to escape reality. And our chief aim is not to persuade people like this, but rather for us to know the truth, practice the truth, and live by it, but not get sucked into this, because his argument is that time creates nativity, if you will. I don't know, is that even a word? You become native because of time? No. You could be a white person in Africa for in year 3033, right? In the year 3033, you're still not native to the land because that is a black land. Just as if I had kids in Sweden and there's, 1,000 years from now, they will not be native to that land. They will still be of African blood or blood that is aboriginal to elsewhere. So the question is, what's driving him to become irrational? Because he's intelligent. We can't deny that.
Yeah.
He'd be a fool to say that he's dumb. So what is driving him to make these clearly foolish arguments and for others like him to agree? It's
that's a good question. Is it an agenda? Like, what is it? Because it's silly to say, like, with that logic, you can say, well, they got a problem with Mexicans, crossing the border and stuff. Some of these Mexicans, if it's a time limit, they could be natives to this land. Then it's like the colonizers, the white people claim that, the Americans, this is their land, but then we have an entire group that we call Native Americans. So why would we still use that language and call them Native Americans if there's a time limit? We've been here for what, 300, almost 400 years. So when do we become natives? Then we take away their name of natives. So yeah, it makes sense. You can continue on with the video.
Is that your ancestors have to actually originate from the place, then nobody is native to anywhere. So where do you draw?
Wait, what? Did he just say nobody's native to anywhere?
Homie wildin'. He is wildin'.
This is your king? This is your king? Wow.
All the line. So that's what happened. That's it, what you just saw.
Bro said nobody is native to anywhere. Just imagine me going to Northern Europe. You look some of these blonde, blue-eyed characters in their face and like, you're not really from here. Your ancestors aren't really from here. You know that, right? Like, it's ludicrous. And he's saying it with a straight face. And that's precisely why when I listen to people talk about racism or white supremacy or anti-Black racism, whatever you want to call it, I know that the party arguing vehemently against the nerd Fuentes, which, in the bootleg neo-Nazis and all these characters, when they're arguing against them, I'm thinking in my mind, like, you're never going to stop them from being racist. You're never going to be able to reason with them because they're not starting from a rational base. They're starting from an emotional base. They're starting from a very self-focused base. There's something wrong. There's something wrong in them. They're not happy. That's why the hatred is coming out. They have to find an explanation of why the world is the way it is and it's not good. Not because of me, but because of those people. Wealthy white people don't even live around Black people, right? So if you're wealthy and white, why even be concerned with Blacks? They're 13% of the population. You don't live anywhere near them. Your experience is very remote. So what's the psychological thing that drives you to constantly have them on your mind? You say they commit crimes. Well, you're wealthy, they're poor. They're not your neighborhood. They're no threat at all. They're 13%. They're not the majority. They don't decide anything in politics. They're financially ineffective. They don't decide anything in commerce. So what's the big issue? It's something else. And then you have the other side of it. So you got the ones who are like the Black folks and the white liberals who are verbalizing their issues with the white supremacy position. Then you got the white supremacy position, and they're not even focused on actual white supremacy. It's really focused on hatred. That's actually a misnomer. They're not trying to make white supreme or to really even separate. Their thing is really about hatred, because when you go back to where whites are native, to where whites are native, the question is, well, why didn't you stay there? If you want to be among all whites, stay in Sweden, stay in Denmark, stay in Norway, stay in France. The only reason you have colored peoples in your nations is because you went out and you colonized or you started all these wars. And the people, like, for example, you look at Libya, the Western powers went and destroyed that country. Those people, now they need schools, hospitals, and the rest of it. And they're coming to your nations where there are proper schools and hospitals that have yet to be destroyed. So a lot of their thinking is just very backwards and doesn't add up. They talk about Black Lives Matter. That's not a Black organization. It's a white organization. Even the NAACP, founded by whom? You know who founded the NAACP?
White people. I would say, wasn't it the Jews?
Yeah, who founded and funded it? Yeah,
it was.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it was the Jews.
So every time they go back and look at the root of what they claim is the problem, it's actually themselves. If they look at whites as a collective and you have an issue with Black Lives Matter, then you have an issue with whites. You have an issue with NAACP, you have an issue with whites. You have an issue with the politics in America, you have an issue with whites. They're the voting majority and they're the political majority since ever. So none of their positions actually stand up to logic. It's a very irrational position to be a racist.